Hello and welcome to the LAX Coaches vs. Cancer Tournament. We're out here in beautiful Palm Desert, California, here with former University of San Diego coach and vice president of the SLC, Mike Dewan. And Mike is no stranger to the MCLA, and we got a fantastic weekend of MCLA action. Mike, what do you think about the tournament this year?
This has been a great idea. Only someone like Matt Holman could pull off an event like this, but obviously it's for a very, very good cause. Matt himself lost his sister to cancer a couple years ago. It's affected my family as well, and it's nice to do something charitable like this, but also get some good teams together and see how they are to start the season. So it should be a very good thing now and for the years to come. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Absolutely, and we're happy to be bringing you the action. The huge thanks to Total Lacrosse for presenting the broadcast this weekend. And today, the first matchup we have is Boston College versus BYU, both traditional powerhouses in the MCLA. BYU losing to Colorado State last year in the semifinals of the national tournament, and Boston College losing to Sonoma State in the first round of the MCLA tournament. What do you think about the matchup today?
I'm very curious to see how both these teams are this year. BYU, it's 4 years, I think about 4 years removed from Jason Lamb leaving the program, so all these kids now are Coach Matt's recruits. By all means, he's done a fantastic job, but this is now has his blueprint on this team. They've traditionally just been one of the biggest teams I've seen. They still got some size on defense, but they've had some horses the last few years, particularly through the midfield, so I'm really curious to see how they are this year. And BC is the type of team where they're always right there. Some years they go a little bit farther than that. A couple years ago they were in like the top 5, and last year, like they said, they made the tournament that then uncharacteristically went out in the first round. So I'm curious to see how they bounce back this year as well.
Absolutely, and we're lucky enough today to have ref Tim Dyer mic'd up, so we're going to take a listen in a second as both teams get lined up here. And we have some studs out here today. Both teams actually undefeated so far in the season. BYU with some tough matchups, but we're going to come in and listen to Tim Dyer here in the lineup.
Yeah, so BC's 13. 13 BC, yep.
And as these teams shake hands and the goalies take to their cages, who are some of the players to watch today in this matchup?
Again, early in the season, particularly with BYU, you don't know who left and who came back, who got married, who has a couple kids, and so it's always interesting to see where they are. Number 6 from BYU is an absolute stud. Mike Fabrizio from Bountiful, Utah. Samir, have you been to Bountiful, Utah?
I actually haven't.
It's outside Salt Lake City, about 10 minutes north. It's where the beautiful people live in Salt Lake City. But they have quite a few players from there. It's a very good program. And then for BYU, actually, for Boston College, the kid I'm really, really going to focus in on, they have a sophomore face-off guy who's a stud. He did very well last year, and I really think the game's going to come down to his ability to handle BYU on the face-off. So, those are the two I'm looking forward to start. So,
and characteristically, Boston College comes away with the first face-off here. As they set up into their offense, they're going to have the first possession. It's important for a team like Boston College to come out and get up early on BYU. Both teams, as we talked about, undefeated, coming in with a lot of confidence, playing in a little bit drier weather than they're used to. But we'll have to see how that plays out on the sticks as this game moves forward. And that pass.
A little bit of a force. Nice idea, though. If they're looking for that all day, that could be there. Samir, you couldn't be more correct. Everybody obviously plays different from behind as opposed to ahead. But when you're playing BYU, they are a completely different team when they are ahead of you compared to when they're even with you or behind. So you couldn't be more right about that.
That pass intended for Van Fossen dropped there, as BYU now gets an opportunity at a fast break.
This kid's got a little bit of wheels.
They got some wheels and opts to slow it down and work it back up to the top, and that's Zach Jordan there with the ball, one of the junior captains for BYU, also out of Bountiful, Utah.
I'm telling you, Bountiful, without Bountiful, they would be in trouble. Now, this has been the thing with them. I know it's the way lacrosse has been, several programs the last few years, but particularly with BYU, they're very, very methodical. They're going to, get it in there, take their time, work it around. They're very, very disciplined, and so that's what you need. Boston College on defense, they have to be patient and not to get anxious, not to go, to try to be, hero ball or anything like that. Play as a team and then capitalize when they have the opportunity. So.
And that's Christian Taylor working from X. Feeds inside, a shot.
Great save.
And that's saved by Mike Shepard, who's another one of those players to watch on the Boston College side.
So this is going to be riveting color commentating by myself. The two keys for Boston College, which has never been said before about a lacrosse game, is their goalie playing the face-offs guy. But, truly for this game, if that kid can keep him in it, they can get it off pipe. If they can control the ball and keep it out of the net, obviously, but those two kids are going to really keep them in this game.
And that shot coming from John Lambrecht, the leading scorer for Boston College. He's definitely a player to watch, the senior attackman, as he dishes it off to Van Fossen.
The thing with Boston College here is they have to attack BYU at their long poles. A lot of teams, they want to go against the shorties, obviously, because of that matchup differential. But, BYU's defensive midfielders can play. And there's actually a little bit of experience down low there. Inexperience, and they got to try to exploit some of that.
There's Van Fossen at X feeding inside, and that pass.
That kid was covered last week.
Not able to connect there. Looks like they're looking to settle down, and the BYU coaching staff yelling out to them. It looks like they're going to set up a set play here. And they are going hard against the long poles that we've seen. I think they're really going to be looking towards their attack with Lambrecht and Van Fossen, who are two of the leading scorers here. As they swing it around, stacking the left side, a shot and a save.
They didn't need that there. He thought, why don't I shoot? That wasn't a great shot, going away from the goal, underhand on the run. Low angle, goalie's going to take that all day. That's the kind of thing, if they do that all game, they're going to be in trouble.
And that's Alec Grant, freshman midfielder from Las Vegas, Nevada, who brings the ball in, dishes it off to Zach Jordan, the captain, carries up top, and it looks like BYU is going to get their personnel in. Coming in through the midline.
See, this is what they do to you, though. That kid takes a poor shot. They get it up here. This takes 30 or 40 seconds before they work it out. They'll take another 20 or so. And, it's just death by water torture, and that's why you got to be patient.
And it looks like an invert here for BYU, getting the captain, Zach Jordan, at X. He's looking to feeds across.
Great play on defense. Great coverage on defense.
And that pass intended for Jake Arbin, not able to connect.
They were trying to hope that defenseman off the crease was going to try to slide early, and they would have that back door on the crease. He stayed home. They defended that very well. That had no chance.
And here's Shepard looking to clear the ball. And a back-and-forth game. No score so far. Again, we're out here in Palm Desert, California. A beautiful day, a bit dry. Wonder how that'll play in the rest of the weekend with the Sticks. Again, a fantastic weekend of lacrosse, and you can catch all the action right here on the Lacrosse Network. Tomorrow we have Chapman taking on Colorado. That should be a fantastic game.
That's always going to be a great game. And I'm telling you, Chapman this year is going to be something.
That's what we've heard.
Yeah.
Haven't had a chance to see him, but we've heard.
I think this is finally the year. Hit it. Nice save. Horrible shots.
Boston College just not able to connect right now. Looks like they've had a few shot opportunities.
All that does is give that goalie more and more and more confidence. And then he's going to be that much harder to beat later in the game.
Failed clear there from BYU. Boston College back on the clear. And there's Shepard with the ball. Looks like BYU's letting him walk it up to a certain point. Fabrizio looks like he wants to jump. And as that ball crosses the midline.
There we go.
That's Phillips. And we got a flag down, and we're going to see.
Referee Bob Duggan with a nice call there.
We're going to see we might not see our first man up if they're able to capitalize here. And the ball's down.
There
Lambrecht with a nice spin move, just not able to keep the ball in his stick. And we're going to get a look at Boston College man-up unit with a huge opportunity to go up early in this game.
Referee Bob Duggan on that play, trailing the play. Bob Duggan is a gazelle out of the referees, even at 68 years old. I'm telling you, the man still gets up and down the field.
It's important to have athletic refs out here.
Oh, my gosh.
It's dry, it's hot.
I'm hoping I don't kill myself tonight. The goals for tonight are not to curse on air and not to fall off this apparatus and kill myself.
Here we have a look at Boston College's man-up as they're staying wide in a 3-3 set, and that ball's down.
You know, this is something where BYU traditionally has been great throughout the years. Their man-down unit, Coach Matt coached this himself for about 11 years or so. I think he still coaches it now from what I understand, and this is a really big, strong suit for them.
Yeah, and we just saw it right there. BYU doing a great job having the sticks in the lane and intercepting that pass, and that ball goes out of bounds. And that's going to stay Boston College ball, a lucky break for them there as BYU's man-down unit really able to contain man-up. And the penalty is released now. We are at even strength. BC's man-up unit still on the field. That's Kalushtin, senior midi from Belmont, Massachusetts.
You know, I know we're early in the game here, but both these teams seem well coached, just from the sets and very organized in what's going on and whatnot. But at the risk of being extremely cliche, BYU looks like they've been in this type of game before. They're ready to handle it. Boston College is just, they're not focusing on the little things. You know, a 10-yard pass and catch, anyone can make that at this level. They need to just calm down.
There's Kalushtin. And the last time these two teams met was back in 2008. So
wow.
It's been some time, and a close game there. BYU taking it 8-7. And that was out in Texas.
This goalie is going to be playing for have the resume to play for the world team if they keep this up.
Right, absolutely. See, it looks like BYU able to keep that ball in bounds. There's Fabrizio trying to pick up the ball. Looks like he's going to have time, and he picks it up. And this is definitely who BYU wants to have the ball in his stick.
I'm telling you, if BYU gets one first here, it's just demoralizing. Boston College has had, maybe 7 shots? They haven't hit anything yet. BYU's had, I think, 2 shots. But, you know, they've been in control the whole time. You know, it's not obviously quantity, it's quality.
And Fabrizio with the ball at X.
This kid can play, man. This kid can play
Absolutely.
at a lot of guys' levels.
Fabrizio working on the defense, and he shoots. And a great save by Shepard.
Great save. A lot of goalies right there wouldn't be oh, great. Back-to-back right there. Hit him.
And Mike Shepard with a phenomenal 2 saves right there, back-to-back on Fabrizio and Jordan. You see, those are BYU's 2 go-to guys.
That second one off stick high. He was in perfect position with that, jumped all over it. First one, you know, some goalies wouldn't be prepared for that in close. Off stick high, goalie tries to sneak it past attackman tries to sneak it past their head. He was ready for both of them. Both goalies so far doing a hell of a job. He needs to go in.
That's Fleischman. Fleischman, who has a lane there.
Let it go.
Still got it.
God. Excuse me. Jeez.
And I think you guys can tell Mike Dewan here, former head coach.
I mean, how close does he want to get?
And that's
trying to roll it in the goal.
That's Lambert with the ball. Back at X, and Fleischman, another one of the top scorers for Boston College, not able to connect there. And as we talked about before, I think you see BYU's played in big games, and they continue to play in big games. And Boston College, although they've been very successful at the national tournament, early season big games, this might be something new for Boston College.
Totally agree. They also could have some kids. Oh, that just went out. They also have some kids probably, you know, moving into some new positions like every team does start the year. But, you know, the other thing that factors into this greatly pains me as a product of the WCLO, which is now formed mostly of SLC. But BYU plays in the best conference in the country. And, you know, to say the same thing, they're, you know, every year, you know, tried and tested. And, you know, they're ready for this. Now, that's not to say, though, that's what I'm telling you. It's so crucial for Boston College to get 1 or 2 here.
And that's Hayden Dixon, the junior captain for BYU, coming down with the ball and moves it back to the attack.
You know,
it's Jaden Haas.
The unsung hero of any team are the defensive midfielders. You know, the rules are trying to, make middies as two-way as possible, but that kid is one of their best players from the defensive midfield position. That again, why is they have to go against some of these polls.
Absolutely, and we were just talking about Boston College, and although they haven't scored yet, I have been impressed with their ability to get the shots off.
Yep.
And that shot goes wide. That shot from Aaron Feldstad, who's another one of the top scorers here on BYU.
What happens, though, is if they've shot 8 times now, 9,
Fabrizio
I think.
inside shoots.
Great save.
And another great save by Shepard.
Man.
He's having a great first half as he hits Fleischman, who's on the
they got numbers
break.
here. They got numbers here. Please make the right decision. One more. Let it go.
There's Lambrecht. And he hits the top pipe.
That was the right play, though. That was a nice job. Again, though, they've got to get one of these, because what happens is you, as an offensive player.
Another break, and we got Fabrizio open all alone. He fakes and scores.
That's going to be a goal all
and
year.
Fabrizio, BYU strikes first with Fabrizio on the fast break. End-to-end action here at the Coaches versus Cancer event.
That's the big, we're early here by no means, but that one hurts you. You go down here, you miss one, they hit one. You have a 1-goal swing the opposite way there. That's a great finish by that kid.
And that's a great play from the BYU attack. That's Jaden Haas, who hits Mike Fabrizio. And we're going to be calling his name quite a bit this weekend. One of the top players out here in Palm Desert.
BYU will take those odds anytime they can get him. He's good enough where as a defenseman, you almost don't want to leave him in that position. Just let the kid with the ball take it. But obviously, you're picking between the lesser of two evils there.
And Boston College with a golden opportunity on that fast break.
Oh, well executed too.
And it was John Gastal on the.
The other thing that they have going right now is it's pretty even weather-wise here, but from that angle on the field where that attackman just shot from, at this time, that BYU goalie, he didn't react to that shot. I don't even think he can. He stared into the sun. He hit pipe there. In about 20 minutes, they're not going to have this sun anymore. They got to capitalize now.
And that's Chapman there, who lost the ball, trying to get it back.
These D-middies can play. Stupid play, and he just kicked a kid in the chest. He's gone.
There.
That's what it's about right there. That's where it comes into. They're not used to these games. I haven't seen a Karate Kid play like that in 2 years, though.
Temper's definitely flaring, and let's listen in here as the refs talk about this call, and when they come up with a decision here on that. I think we're going to definitely see a few penalties here as tempers are going up.
Aiden Baldoni, the Ralph Macchio of BC. Samir, are you old enough to know who Ralph Macchio is?
Come on, Mike.
I'm
a black belt myself.
Oh, excuse me.
I am a black belt myself.
Excuse me.
Hey, White, let's go, boys.
And last season BYU going 16-5 and 3-2 in the RMLC, and that absolutely is like you said, the best conference. You have Colorado State and Colorado and BYU.
And BYU, and then
we had a dead by White.
Listen to Timmy here.
We had a dead ball. Loose ball push on blue. It just turns it over. It's white ball.
Here we go. Let's go.
Okay, so what you can learn from all that, folks, early on here is the refs are going to let these kids play decided on the field. It is very rare that you are allowed to kick a kid in the chest and it be nothing more than getting the ball back for your team. But
Van Fossen starting out with the ball, and that's our senior midi, and his younger brother, a freshman attackman, number 11. You'll see him down there as well. And that's the younger brother of Van Fossen, who takes the rip. And a nice shot low there, a save from BYU.
So here's something to keep an eye on that could help Boston College possibly later in the game. Although they haven't scored that, they're spending a little bit of time down here on the offensive side of the field. 44 from BYU is one of their face-off guys. He's a very good defensive midfielder, but he's been stuck down here for a while. If he gets tired, BC can start to win those face-offs later in the game.
Gastola with another golden opportunity there off the feed from Kalushtin. And Van Fossen's going to operate from X again. A lot of great opportunities.
That's a goal. Nope.
A lot of great opportunities.
Horrible pass.
Cross-crease feed there from Van Fossen, just not able to connect.
Samir, even with your black belt ability, it's pretty hard to catch something at your feet.
Absolutely.
That needs to be on the kid's stick in that close of a vicinity.
You know, again, it's early in the season for BC, and I am very impressed with the way that they're able to operate on offense and the looks that they are getting. You know, although BYU is winning this game right now, BC has been getting the better looks.
Here we go. I like it. I like this.
There's Van Fossen with a big rip and nobody there to back it up.
Just got the ball back. That's the rare situation where you got to pull it out and live to fight another day. They just got it back. He has no backup. The long stick barely got it to him. I mean, I appreciate the zeal to try to capitalize, but you got to play smart, particularly when you're playing against a well-coached team.
And there's Alec Grant, one of those D-middies who's clearing that ball down. Gets it back down to the attack. Back up to Zach Jordan. Gets by his first man. Slide comes. Nice recovery from BC. As Jordan looking for something. Works it back down to X.
You know, Boston College's second line and now BYU's second line. These kids don't look like they got too much.
There's a big rip. High to high, not able to connect there, but a nice look inside.
I'm really surprised the way that that's a goal.
There's Jordan, a big rip again. They're shooting from the outside right now.
I'm really surprised the way BYU is not initiating a single thing through the attack. The attack's there for no other reason than to finish. You know, they a little while ago they ran that one invert. Here we go. Now we're getting something off the end line, a little action.
Here's Fabrizio, gets inside, looks to shoot, somehow still has the ball in his stick.
Very smart. They're coming early to him.
Back down to X. And that's the end of one quarter of play here. BYU up 1-0 on Boston College.
A lot of action.
A lot of action, although the score does not show it. There's been a lot of action here, a lot of great looks. And we're going to be back with some second quarter action right here on the Lacrosse Network.
Hey guys, Mike with Total Lacrosse. Here today to check out Brian's Triumph 2 shoulder pads. Let's take a look. The impossible is now possible with the Triumph 2 shoulder pads by Brian. These lightweight, breathable, and durable shoulder pads will keep you safe so you can keep going all game long. AeroShield technology is strategically placed throughout the sternum and shoulders, allowing you to stand up to large impacts. The Triumph 2s sport an updated strap system and a perforated mesh jacket that provides protection in its most flexible and breathable form, while a ventilator liner wicks away moisture so you'll never sweat the competition. Hope you guys enjoyed a look at the Triumph 2 shoulders. You can get these and all other Brian products at TotalLacrosse.com. See you next time.
And we're back here, starting the second quarter. And Mike, what were your thoughts on that first quarter of play?
BYU looks to be in just complete control. You know, they're taking advantage of the looks that they are getting. They're taking, you know, they're very patient with the ball. That wears you down. BC, you know, they're playing run and gun, and there is something to that. Chris Malone at ASU has done that for years. If you shoot 60 times a game, you get 30 of them on goal. You hope to convert half of them. It's 15 goals. They're close to 15 shots that first quarter. So there's something to be said there. If they keep up the barrage, they just got to hope that some of them start falling. So,
yeah, and if BC can continue to control the faceoff X, get more possessions, they're just going to need to start converting on their opportunities, especially on those fast break opportunities.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's all you can ask for as a coach. I mean, you get those opportunities, and then you just got to convert. I'm telling you, it's going to be a long, long day if Robert Van Fossen starts dominating at the faceoff X for BYU. I'm sorry, Zach Jordan, the captain. I apologize.
Yeah, Zach Jordan.
Also
right
from Bountiful, Utah.
And that ball's going to go out of bounds there. Getting close to us. Getting real close to the action here. As BC was going to bring it back in. That's Michael Ward bringing the ball back in. They got some numbers right now if they work fast. Not able to capitalize there. I think they're going to slow it down. There's Fleischman as they substitute their personnel in. Joseph Volk on the field, junior midi. And Mike, you were a part of the MCLA for quite some time. What do you think about Boston University going D1?
Little bit surprised, but it's interesting. I applaud any time a school is committed to making that move. As far as we're concerned, I think as everybody concerned, Michigan is obviously the trailblazers with that, but it's just inevitable that more and more teams don't have that start to happen. I was just surprised to see that university undertake it. But that being said, I mean, a couple years ago, Marquette went D1, and their club lacrosse team at the time, was pretty average. So I think it's really just, I think it has more to do with the growth of the sport and the athletic directors really realizing, what it could be for their schools. And so I hope it's just going to keep happening.
And as we were talking about that, Rob Ulster with another save there.
Really smart play.
Rob
really
Ostler.
smart play by number 5 on BC right there. He had an opportunity to line a kid up and hit him right on top of the head, would have drawn an immediate penalty. Came off of it. BC still has the ball. That's a smart play. It was nice to see that.
And there was number 7 on Boston College, Gastola, with another opportunity, not able to finish it.
Oh, that was a goal.
Nice
that was
look.
a goal. Oh, catch the ball. Great feed.
Nice look inside, and that was over to sophomore attackman Spencer Reed, just not able to finish that one as BYU back on the clear.
That's something from that defensive set right there. The first time we've seen that, BC goes to a little bit of an invert set. That is what you're going to get playing against BYU traditionally over the years. They're going to send that long stick super early to try to, take that mismatch away. BC feeds it to the inside. He just got handcuffed for a second, but that might be a look later on in the game. I would go back to that immediately if I was BC.
Absolutely. They're finding some success feeding inside, just not able to connect on those.
Correct. And usually that's trouble for a defense.
And Boston College clearing the ball again. Definitely back and forth action. Not too much possession time for each team.
One of the best plays I've seen early. That's the dodge under the guy's legs and then get up and go in and score possibly.
And that's Thomas Stack dodging against.
Oh, Thomas! Oh.
Shoots and not able to get that by. Low angle shot there. And BYU on the clear again. And I'd like to see how many shots Boston College has taken so far today.
I would too. Where's our stat guy here? We need an update. I mean, it's been quite a few.
And we just got it from the stats table. That's 15 shots for Boston College so far today.
Are they shortchanging them there a little bit? It's at least 15. Okay, we'll go with 15 for now.
15,
on net.
15 on net.
On net. On net. 15 on net? Oh, my. Oh, incredible.
And those are going to start to fall. At least you would think.
You would
hope. Jake Arbin there bringing the ball in and back down to X. Arbin up top. Looks like he's got the shorty matchup that they might want to exploit here for against BC.
Ostler and goal might be having one of those nights. Somebody gets in the zone. They become a wall in there. You're in trouble.
And Boston College bringing the ball back down. Moves it inside and a goal.
That was a nice play.
And
really nice play.
What a play by the freshman, and that's Quentin Wiley.
Oh, that came from
that came from Ross Fishman, the senior defensive midi from Connecticut.
All that starts with that pole, though. Daniel Kiemer, 19, captain pole, helping lead the break there.
And as we're getting back to the face-off, a great play there, but I wanted to, again, thank our broadcast sponsor, Total Lacrosse. Make sure to check out www.totallacrosse.com. Tune in all weekend as they're going to be presenting all the broadcast, and all season long as they'll be presenting the SLC Game of the Week. You're going to have chances to win free gear both before the broadcast and during, so make sure to tune in. Our SLC game of the week this week is between Chapman and Boston College, so we'll have Boston College again on Saturday against Chapman for the SLC game of the week. So make sure to check out TotalLacrosse.com. Follow them on Twitter at Total Lacrosse. Like them on Facebook. And again, huge thank you to them for presenting the broadcast. And BYU back with the ball. We have a tie game, and that Boston College goal scored by their defensive midfielder. And I think that's a huge momentum push for them.
Here's what I think is going to happen. Now, granted, this could happen in any game, but this is going to be back and forth all day. Or that could open the floodgates for them. And the reason I say that is only because they're getting so many shots. And when you see that first one hit the goal and you realize this kid is, is penetrable, you're going to start trying to let it go. Great save.
Big rip and a nice save from Shepard.
He was going down before that kid even had the ball out of his stick.
That was truly amazing there, and both keepers having a great night, but I'm very impressed with Mike Shepard.
Yeah, he's having a great game. He was either baiting the kid to that one or he was able to catch his eyes in that close. He started to go low there before he even released it.
Let's see if that ball is going to stay in bounds, and that ball is going to go BYU's way. As they're clearing the ball down, that's Nick Stevens. And
timeout, BYU.
That's a timeout for BYU. So far we have a tie ball game. 2 goals scored on fast breaks.
Yeah.
Neither team able to score in settled situations.
I'm curious to see what they come out with here. BYU's assistant coach, their offensive coach, he's been one of their assistants for a very long time. Very, very good coach. This is usually something he strives in, putting something together out of a timeout. They obviously had that for a reason. Now, was it just to give them a break and calm them down, or did they see something they are hoping to exploit? So let's see what they come out of the timeout with here. We'll kind of see how things are going to go the next couple quarters. If they put in a set play here coming out of the timeout, as I said, they see something. If they slow it down and work the clock, so to speak, they're a little bit concerned about how this game's going, and they want to control it. And if that's the case, BC is starting to get in their head a little bit early.
Yeah, and I think you got to pay tribute to Mike Shepard, Boston College's goalkeeper.
Oh, yeah.
He's been having a great game, great night, and he's been making some fantastic saves. It's not that BYU's not taking great shots.
No, not at all. BYU, for the shots they've had, they've all been there. They're taking much better quality shots than BC is. They're just not getting as many. But, yeah, to keep repeating the obvious, both these goalies are having a heck of a game. I would like to see these goalies, though, with the saves they're making, they're catching most of these shots. And where I'm going with that is when they are able to control the ball like that, I'd like to see them counterpunch with, a fast break back in the other direction. So far, not everyone, but most of them, they've saved it and then looked to the exterior and then slowly cleared the ball up the field. That first goal we had, it was a miss, boom, right back upfield goal. I'd like to see a little bit more of that.
That's Dixon with the ball.
Okay, so
back up top.
So like we talked about, no set play. He brought him in for a timeout just to calm him down. That says something early, I'm telling you.
And here's Dixon. It looks like this is the matchup they like. Getting a pick from Yost.
Good switch. Great switch.
Dixon working on the shorty. Lefty rip up high. And that one's wide.
Goalie got lucky there. He didn't see it, but it was off cage, fortunately. But that kid's a nice player. That kid is a very nice player for BYU. Hayden Dixon.
Top, back up to Yost. And back over to Nick Stevens. Down the right alley, moves it back down to X, and there's Feldstead. Oh, a nice play by Boston College's defense there. Feldstead able to get it back in his stick. He was looking to skip the ball up top to Christian Taylor. Taylor loses the ball for a second, able to get it back.
We haven't seen anything from Fabrizio for a few minutes here. He hasn't even touched the ball except for that fast break. And he just right there committed a penalty.
That looked like a moving pick there.
Yep, it was.
And Boston College on the clear now.
So far, the most impressive kid for BYU, without question, has been this Hayden Dixon. You know,
Absolutely.
That's the kind of kid.
Van Fossen not able to catch that.
That's the kind of kid, you know, that BYU, you know, plays his freshman year, goes away for a couple years to serve his mission, comes back now. He's almost a grown man with a ton of eligibility. He's dominating.
And Boston College, both teams settling down into this game a little bit more in this second quarter.
That is true.
And working their sets a little bit.
I would think this tempo would favor BYU. However, that being said, BC is getting so many shots.
Van Fossen with a shot and a goal.
Oh, goalie guessed where he was going. Instead of reacting to the ball, snuck one by him. Great shot.
Van Fossen, what a move down the right alley, and buries that one near side. High heat from Boston College. And I like that play, you know, Boston College going aggressively from up top at the shorties, putting a shoulder down and just burying that one high.
Great play. Now, again, we have a small sample here, but the last two shots have gone in. I'm telling you, this could open the floodgates here.
Absolutely. See that.
Let's see what happens. They got this is where a face-off guy is worth his weight in gold. They just scored. If they can get the ball back here and keep the pressure on, you know, I gave this kid some credit before the start of the game, and so far, BYU's face-off guy is absolutely dominating.
And that's Captain Zach Jordan for BYU, who wins that face-off and gets the Cougars possession. And Harbin moves it back down to Fabrizio, and let's see if they start initiate with Fabrizio
let's
here.
See somebody go to work here. Little two-man action behind. Oh, that would have been a bad switch for BC if they went big little there. So what they're trying to do there is they're trying to bring the midfielder behind and his short stick. They put, it's called big little. They put him in a tough situation. Either the defensive midfielder gets out of the way. This kid's doing too much now. Or the long pole kind of gets picked. So it's been a big thing in lacrosse, you know, last like 5 or 6 years, and BYU's been using it the last several years. And right there, just BC's really kind of extending hard, and they're not able to take advantage of it. Great save.
Another great save from Shepard, and that shot coming from 99 on BYU.
That was a nice
Grant
move.
Alec.
He fooled everyone, including myself, and fooled everyone except for the goalie.
And
really smart of the goalie there to stay home. He didn't follow the head fake or the stick fake.
And
Right,
Boston College on the break.
Situation developing here. Don't get selfish.
And
Make
he's
the right
coming in.
play.
He's going to take a rip.
Oh.
Nice save there from BYU, but a nice, good opportunity there for Boston College off the roll dodge.
He's gassed.
And Gastola, another shot. Lambrecht picks it back up, moves it back over to Gastola. And Boston College look like they're going to settle it down a little bit. Kalushtin with the ball.
The LSM for BC from Mountain Lakes, New Jersey, going for the glory there. He just collapsed on the sideline.
And there's Van Fossen with another rip.
Now, see, that right there as a coach is going to keep you up at night. He has all that time and space, and he shoots it into the goalie stick. But again, they're getting these shots. How wide open was that shot?
Nick Stevens. And again, end-to-end action. Nick Stevens not able to convert there on BYU's fast break opportunity. And they're going to bring the ball back in from X. That's Jaden Haas. Carrying the ball. Looks like he's going to move it back up top. Christian Taylor. Swings it over to C.J. Raya.
I think this is BC's head coach's third year. And as a coach, that's the year you really put your imprint on the team. And so far early, I mean, if this is how they're going to be all season, they're going to be a load to handle.
There's Feldstad, the attackman, with a shorty at X. Nice move. Comes up.
Great shot.
And Shepard with another save down low.
Now, what I'm starting to see there, though, and I don't know if BYU's seeing the same thing. It could just be coincidence, but that kid's dropping to his knees now. And he's gobbling that up. If they pick up on that and they start taking their stick low and going high, that could be a problem. But it's not a problem until they start doing it. Another great save.
Yeah, you know, I think all coaches and you know, anytime in lacrosse, it's a good idea to change plans. Oh, wow.
Uh-oh.
And Shepard out of the cage.
Uh-oh.
Dixon.
What an unselfish play.
Dixon with an unselfish play. Might have wanted to get a little selfish there.
Dixon, you know, that's the first time I've seen a midi try to reward his friend on defense. And the defenseman, wait, hold on. Off the defenseman, yeah, steps in the crease. Bob the Gazelle Duggan clarifying his call.
And that's going to be
that's
white
something
ball.
you don't see a lot. A defenseman
Absolutely.
running through the crease. That's rare.
You know, I think a few things that you don't see a lot of there. Dixon with a golden opportunity to put it into the open net.
Unselfishness out of selfish offensive players. I never benefited from that.
Wow, and I'm sure Dixon is feeling that one right now. He's going to want another chance at that. Shepard getting very lucky there. Shepard was up by the midline. I mean, he had no chance of getting back in the cage.
And, you know, and he really, the minute he turned it over there, you could almost hear the proverbial wah wah, and he was watching to see how bad the situation got. But
and there's Dixon.
Luckier than good. That's a sign there that things are with you possibly tonight.
Is it over to Nick Stevens? Stevens coming in lefty, gets inside, slide comes early. Moves it over to Yost. Yost still inside, shoots and scores.
Got to slide with the body there. That's one kid truly wanting it more. He had two guys on his hands, and he was as surprised as anybody that the ball didn't come out. But you know, good for him to keep going to the hole strong there.
And what a play there by BYU, able to get back. Tie ball game here.
Yep.
In the first half.
Alex Yost, all 5'6". He needed all of it right then. And he just had the stronger hands there.
Going through the middle of the Boston College defense there and able to bury that one.
Yeah, that kid that was guarding him, he saw something. You know, you're going to live with risk reward. He went for the takeaway check. That gave the guy the opening, and he almost got it. But you know, that's the kind of thing you live with. You
know, a lot of times in lacrosse, it's the smaller guys who have the advantage.
The great equalizer in lacrosse is the stick. You know, if someone can master the apparatus in any sport that has an apparatus used to control the ball, whether it's baseball or hockey, if someone can master that apparatus, it's the great equalizer, and that's absolutely true. Okay, although BYU got the ball there, that was the first face-off with a kid from BC. He actually lost the draw. Then he countered and got the ball back to himself. They just unfortunately didn't win the ball, but that could give you some sign that he can possibly compete with number one, because so far Zach Jordan has been dominant for BYU.
That's Jaden Haas with the ball there. Sorry, that's Jake Arbin. And he's got an isolation there behind the cage.
Sandy, Utah, a little bit more slow pace than Bountiful.
And low angle takes the shot, not able to get to the cage. Boston College.
Nice roll back, reverse the field, take up the sideline. Take up the sideline. Take up the sideline. Don't throw it to the middle of the field.
And what a play there from Boston College.
How lucky are we? He's offsides. Oh, come on.
And the flag is down.
We got it. We got it from up front.
The flag
Tim Dyer, Bob Duggan, everybody's on it. Now, we could have the same call here, but Mr. Duggan was making sure he was counting forward first, which is the umpires are instructed to do now. And that being said, Tim Dyer up ahead, we'll see what his call is, because he's not actually the one in position to make that call, so he could possibly have something different. But he might have been counting forward himself, so it'll be interesting.
And Boston College keeping that ball in play. And
now see again,
Fleischman coming from up top.
That was almost a ward. Just because the penalty's down, you don't have to shoot right now.
Fleischman doubled, tripled, moves the ball, a big shot, and that shot high to high right into the stick of BYU keeper Ostler. And we're going to get another look at Boston College's man-up unit.
Yep.
Opportunity for Boston College to take the lead going into half.
Yeah, it was an offsides call there for 30 seconds. BYU started to show a little bit of frustration there on defense. The check started to get a little more personal, a little bit higher. We'll see how that develops. Again, remember we talked about the start of the game. They are a different team when they are out ahead of you. You know, we're almost, as you said, at halftime now. This is a close game. I don't think they were anticipating that.
And Boston College, a little bit of a different look, a wheel here
One
from
more.
man up.
Oh, one more, and he had the goal.
And that ball is going to go back BYU's direction. That was a different man up look for them.
Yeah, that was a nice little wheel play, like you said. The kid slipped backside. He had him wide open, but he wanted to see him first before he threw it, and unfortunately it took to do that. He got checked away.
Zach Jordan, the captain, with some wheels on the clear. One man clear there all the way from the end line.
He's going to go in.
He's going in. He's going to take the shot and buries it.
There it is.
Zach Jordan, the junior captain, end to end, and buries that one for BYU to take the lead.
That's 2 now where they have missed on their opportunity when it's a clear advantage, that one being man up. BYU comes back the other way. Those are the types of things that great teams do and absolutely kill you.
Absolutely, and Zach Jordan, the junior captain, very impressive there all the way from the end line.
Okay, we got a freshman face-off guy now for BYU. Let's see what this kid can do. One, obviously, remember what I talked about one getting tired.
Right.
Yeah, see, BYU now immediately wins that one, so that's going to be interesting to keep an eye on. That's a tough pass. That's a great play.
Boston College's long poles have been very impressive with their stick handling skills, especially on the clear. And there's John Lambrecht with the ball.
I like that timeout.
Boston College taking the timeout.
Okay, this is a big one here. As a coach, what do you got in your bag? What 10-second play? What invert play? What do you got in your bag here to try to get one for your team? This is where you can really show your worth here as a coach.
And you'd have to think that they're going to want to go to. So far, I think for me, the midfielder is Van Fossen.
I totally agree. But that being said, I mean, their studs are at attack. I would like to see a little more initiation from down there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we go back and look at the stats on the season, number 13 for Boston College, John Lambrecht, he's got the most points per game at 3.5. And, you got to think that they're going to want to go to him.
Lambrecht's a big boy. They're going to want to feed to him, but who's going to break down the defense to cause the breakdown so you can get it to him?
And let's see what Boston College comes out with here out of the timeout.
This freshman attackman for Boston College, number 11, Stephen Van Fossen, something like this, he's got a nice matchup. But the problem is he's a freshman. It's early in the season. He's, just trying to not mess up because he is a freshman, as opposed to if he was a senior in high school, he'd be trying to dominate. You know what I mean? But he's got a favorable matchup. They need to try to exploit that. But that being said, the one you alluded to, they've got Lambrecht flexed out. I like his matchup against 32 for BYU as well. Somebody's got to go to work down there. That was almost a moving pick.
There's Kalustin. He's got the shorty, rolls, and takes the shot. And we got 1 minute left in the half here.
They were lucky that wasn't a turnover. That was not a good shot.
Boston College.
All right, here we go. Let's see
looking
something.
to tie up the game here with 1 minute left.
So anticlimactic. All right, here we go.
A feed inside, a shot.
Nice play.
And that one's wide.
That was by design. That's a nice little play.
And here's Van Fossen bringing the ball. See if he initiates. Swings it up top. It looks like we're going to get it up to his brother. Van Fossen swings it down.
Look, everything
Lambrecht.
Here is they know where they're going. Like I said, that's
pushing the
you can
right.
tell it's very well coached.
Nice fake and a shot. Nice little hitch move there.
Yep. At first, when he wound up to take that, I was like, oh no, that's going to be too far out. But that bought him some space. Great little move.
20 seconds left.
Go behind the back.
There's Lambrecht switching left. It shoots and scores! What a goal from John Lambrecht.
Nice little play right there. He used his own body and the defenseman in front of him as a screen, was able to roll back and shoot it by him stick side mid. Great play.
And there's the leading scorer for Boston College. Just lowers his shoulder, goes low to high, and stings that corner. What a play there. with less than 20 seconds to go in the half to tie up the game.
You know, that's something that used to be such a big part of lacrosse. You don't see as much anymore. So many kids, they want a clear view of the goal now. Use your own body. Use the guy guarding you as a screen. The goalie doesn't see it. Great check.
Great check from Dixon there.
Trying to capitalize right before
4
the end
seconds,
of the game.
3, 2, 1, and not able to get the shot off there is BYU. And Mike, what a half we've had so far. Tied 3-3. What do you think of the game so far?
Hayden Dixon at midfield, the guy who just had that strip and push net, he is really, he in the second quarter, he's the one that started to emerge now. That kid, captain, it's close now. He's getting a little upset. He's starting to try to take over this game. That was very nice. Everything still goes back to the goalies. Both these goalies are having a great game. The one thing that started to shift there a little bit, BC did not have nearly as many shots as the first quarter. However, they won a lot more of the face-offs.
Absolutely.
Hold on, the stat guy here is overriding me. What? How many shots?
13 in the second, 12 in the first.
On cage? But how many total?
No, that's that 13 in the second is total.
And so we're going to get you guys some of the stats when we come back here. You're watching coverage of the Palm Desert
here we go, boom.
LAX Coaches versus Cancer event right here on the Lacrosse Network.
That's that real quick because I got
20.
Welcome to Total Lacrosse. I'm Anthony Kelly, Team STX member and member of the Ohio Machine. Here today to talk to you about the STX X10. The X10U is the next generation Excalibur and is compliant under NCAA and NFHS rules. This head is very popular among defensemen and long stick middies. The X10U comes with the signature STX trestle design, which provides extra strength and stiffness while keeping the head weight very light. There are also multiple stringing holes for easier stringing. To purchase your STX X10 and other great STX products, please visit TotalLacrosse.com. Thanks for watching.
Hey guys, Mike with Total Lacrosse. Here today to check out Brian's Triumph 2 shoulder pads. Let's take a look. The impossible is now possible with the Triumph 2 shoulder pads by Brian. These lightweight, breathable, and durable shoulder pads will keep you safe so you can keep going all game long. AeroShield technology is strategically placed throughout the sternum and shoulders, allowing you to stand up to large impacts. The Triumph 2s sport an updated strap system and a perforated mesh jacket that provides protection in its most flexible and breathable form, while a ventilator liner wicks away moisture so you'll never sweat the competition. Hope you guys enjoyed a look at the Triumph 2 shoulders. You can get these and all other Brian products at TotalLacrosse.com. See you next time.
And welcome back to the LAX Coaches versus Cancer event out here in Palm Desert. You're watching live on the Lacrosse Network, and these broadcasts are brought to you by Total Lacrosse. Make sure to go to www.totallacrosse.com. You can find exclusive deals and some great gear out there. Again, Total Lacrosse bringing you all the broadcasts this weekend, as well as through the season with the SLC Game of the Week. You're going to have the opportunity to win free gear on all the broadcasts, as well as before the broadcast. So on Friday, tomorrow, you guys can predict the score for the SLC Game of the Week between the Chapman Panthers and the Boston College Eagles. Predict the score on Total Lacrosse's Facebook. And if you win, you're going to win a $50 gift card to TotalLacrosse.com, as well as a platinum membership to their shop. So make sure to stay active on their Facebook, as well as on Twitter during the game at Total Lacrosse to win free gear and catch all the great MCLA action through the season with the SLC Game of the Week, brought to you by Total Lacrosse. And Mike, as the action is about to get underway again here, what do you think is important in the third quarter?
Well, you know, beautiful setting here. The sun's starting to set over these majestic mountains. There's no one I'd rather be in the eagle nest more than with you, Samir, over here looking at this beautiful game. But that being said, both these teams are working very, very hard. Now, that's coach's talk. Who is going to start to capitalize? Both these goalies are playing well. BYU has two goalies. They just made a change. That could be huge. That kid, the first half, you can't play any better than that. So I'm curious to see how that goes. Now we got number one back on the face-offs, and he's back dominating. But great check by the LSM to get back for BC, and let's see what happens.
And that's Matt Brandenburg, who's now in cage, the sophomore goalie from Virginia. Stepping in the cage for BYU. One of the few players not from Utah. And
not from Bountiful, Utah.
Not from Bountiful, Utah. And there's Jordan coming in, lefty shot.
Nice shot, nice shot.
And when Zach Jordan is on the break, you have to be very careful as a defense because he's not stopping.
No, BYU's midi so far, particularly him, and as we already talked about, Hayden Dixon. I mean, those kids are carrying this team right now.
There's Feldstead with the ball. Moves it back up to Dixon, and we've talked about him quite a bit on the broadcast tonight. Nice athletic midfielder. Moves it over to Nick Stevens. And Stevens down the right alley, looking to get it back to X. There's Feldstead.
So this is how they started off the game. That's a
nice look inside.
That was a tough slide there from BC. I don't know what that kid was doing.
And moves it over to Christian Taylor. Yeah, they're Feldstead, though, impressed with his quickness.
Yeah, very much so.
Boston College.
Smart play right there.
On the break.
Kid's about to get ridden out of bounds, rolls back. Now, if this guy could, you know what? I'm telling you, that is a well-disciplined team. Plenty of time, plenty of time.
Although that pass got knocked down again, we've been very impressed with Boston College's ability to pass the ball with their long poles. And as we're talking about their ability to clear, they get a failure to advance as Feldstead brings it back in for BYU. Feldstead operating from up top. He's quick, and he's got a shorty on him. We'll see if they switch that matchup.
This line for BYU has not been nearly as aggressive. The only thing we've gotten really has been, you know, from Yost right here. He had that one goal. You know, he went through the middle of the defense. But these guys really have not been pushing the tempo too much. I think this line's job is really just to kind of attack and, you know, not mess up, and then really try to capitalize with number ones. They're lucky they didn't turn the ball over right there.
And Feldstead there operating from up top. They've now switched and gotten a long pole onto him. And you have Nick Stevens.
This is a bad matchup. This is a bad matchup for BC. I'm surprised they didn't keep him back there and stay in that invert set.
Christian Taylor moves it to Dixon, and Dixon with the jump shot. Fabrizio going to bring the ball back in, and a few good looks here for BYU.
Go right at him. Go right at him. One more.
Nice shot from Hayden Dixon. Buries the rock. Dixon can do it on both sides of the field, and we've talked about him throughout this broadcast, and he shows why right there.
All that started, though, at the attack with Fabrizio. He drew the two, moved it through X, one more, and there's your goal up top.
And Dixon, a great job just planting his feet and burying that one high.
As soon as that defenseman fell on Fabrizio, that's when all this started to fall apart on that goal. Great shot.
Nice play there from BYU. And, I've always said that the first 5 to 10 minutes of the third quarter are the most important minutes of a lacrosse game. It really sets the tempo for the second half, especially when you're coming in with a tie ball game. We'll see how BC responds here, but if BYU gets another one in this kind of a game, it's going to be tough for them.
Now, that was a tough pass. Something real quick I picked up on the face-offs there. That might be a change from BC. They're starting to kind of face off as a team there instead of just leaving him on an island. They're getting those kids on the wing early and trying to get to number one. That's a nice adjustment if it's not just coincidence, the first two face-offs.
And here's BYU bringing the ball back in. Jake Arbin, the ball up top.
BC's coaches are yelling, to the offense, we got to have a possession. We got to calm the ball down. They're absolutely right. As you said, Samir, if BYU can get one here, that hurts.
And there's Zach Jordan, captain, operating from up top on a shorty. And he's got some wheels. He's an athletic guy, and playing him that far out might be a mistake there from Boston College.
I agree. And just the home run check, and that's a goal.
There's a goal there from Feldstead. Finds him on the backside, and we talked about it. Boston College has got to be careful right here in the early minutes of the third quarter.
How sad is it that all of us watching see how horrible of a situation that is, and then BYU just, boom, takes immediate advantage of it. That midfielder getting way too aggressive, horrible check, right in for a goal.
I think you have to be careful playing a guy like Zach Jordan that far out.
No one's going to score from 40 yards.
We've seen his wheels, absolutely. And BYU wins another face-off, and Boston College has got to contain them right here.
That trail check just kept the roof from going off this place.
And that's Mike Arnold, freshman from Linden, Utah.
I have not been there,
Samir. Yeah.
It is one of the few places in Utah I have not been.
The sun is setting here as Mike Shepard passes that ball.
He just passed the ball to a guy in the box. I have not seen that for a long time.
Yeah, it looked like he was looking for Van Fossen, and Van Fossen actually standing in the box out of bounds, so not able to connect there. And here's Feldstead.
New thing this year, you have to pass the ball to the people on the field. Unfortunately.
And there's Mike Shepard again with the ball. Back on the clear again.
That's a nice clear again.
Very
one
nice
more. Here we go.
They're moving it.
Here we go.
Boston College with an opportunity.
Okay, at least they're going to keep it back.
And it looks like that hit was high.
Oh.
As we have another flag down, Boston College. I'm not sure if I thought that was high there, but the refs closer than I am to the game call that one, and Boston College with an opportunity here to get back into this in the third quarter.
Concussions and anything high now is just all over any sport. Anything close, they're going to err on the side of safety. It's very hard. Being a defenseman, playing this game for a few years because the game is changing, but that's the way it is. Everything benefits the offense now and safety, and in the long run, that probably is a good thing.
And Lambrecht there actually caught the ball, turned around, tried to put it in, didn't work out there for him. It looks like BC in a 3-3 set here.
Dodging it.
Oh, Lambrecht inside, shoots and scores. Nice look inside. And Lambrecht buries that one.
That is a huge, huge goal. Usually dodging man up is a complete no-no. He was able to get a little bit of space there, jammed it to the inside. Big boy put it home from about a foot out. Nice play.
Nice play there from the senior captain. 6'3", 215 from Smithtown West, Smithtown, New York. And nice handles there inside. And like you said, it's not characteristic to see them dodging in the man up, but able to draw something and
hey, I'm telling you, this kid's starting to wear him down a little bit. He's starting to come back a little bit on his own on the faceoff. Now, Samir, little bit of a change there as BYU clears it. In the beginning of the game, those are the type of plays that BC was not converting on. Now, that's a nice goal right there and one that they need at this point of the game.
And 10 minutes here in the third quarter as Lambrecht gets the ball. And Boston College with a little bit of an unsettled opportunity shoots that, and that's wide. Lucky to have backup on that shot. And that's Mark Flood, who the freshman attackman who backs that up from Ridgewood, New Jersey.
34 the LSM for BC. Took it from him like he owns him.
And Van Fossen back on the field. And moving it back there to Will Forsyth. Apologize if I'm saying that one wrong. If anybody at home has a pronunciation for that one, make sure to tweet it at us at Lacrosse Network.
Do we have any goals out of him already? That kid's got some moves.
We not yet. And here's Van Fossen moving down the right side, looking inside. Moves it over to his brother. And back up top. Here's Volk. Volk with the shot. A nice save there.
Although
from Brandenburg.
It is a nice save. That LSM, great play. Guy got on him a little bit, immediately stick into his chest, lifted. Ooh, that's
a high hit.
Yeah.
And we'll have to see. We're hoping he's okay. That's absolutely a high hit there. And flag is down. Boston College, another opportunity to go man up.
For all people watching at home, it's a great example of where an LSM has no idea what he's doing behind the cage. Just because you have a long stick in your hand doesn't mean you know how to control that part of real estate. He did an awesome job defending up top, rode that kid down the side, lifted, got a bad shot off. Behind, the kid ran right by him and took it in.
Very different positions, long stick midfield and close defense, although they use the same stick. And we're going to see right here, BYU already with their sticks up in the lane. They do a great job at this man down. We've talked about it before. Have to see what Boston College can do if they can tie up this game.
It's a low angle.
And Van Fossen there, curling up. Both Van Fossens on the left side of the cage.
You know, it's tough. You want to be aggressive, but when you're man up, you can get better shots than that, you know?
I think they got to let the ball do the work here.
Oh, great pass.
Nice look inside. And Lambrecht with another goal in tight on man up. 2 goals here, and we have another tie ball game. What a pass from Van Fossen.
We might have had the best angle on that in the entire house. Great. He was open for a second. Guy took his eye off him. He jammed it in there. Great catch. Again, that was the kind of catch and score they didn't have in the first quarter.
And we were just talking about that on man up. They have to let the ball do the work, and they have great stick handlers and a great finisher in John Lambrecht. And we just saw that right there.
Very astute observation by you, Samir.
Thank you.
I'm just here trying to make sure
Mike.
I don't mess up. Push from behind, play on. Yep.
And that ball's going BYU's way. As Mike Arnold brings that in, passes it up to Zach Jordan. And down to Fabrizio, back up to Jordan. Jordan likes to play up top, and it seems fitting with the kind of wheels he has.
This, though, is this unfortunately, because face-offs have become so important the last 5 to 10 years. This kid is a dominant face-off guy. Unfortunately, he's one of their better midfielders. Now, you would think that's good. He wins, he can stay on. He was untouchable to start the game. That kid from BC now is right with him on those face-offs. He's getting tired. I really would just rather have him for face-offs the whole game.
Absolutely. Such a great player, as Quint Kestink would say, an old-school midfielder. Can play both sides of the ball.
Absolutely true.
Both directions. And Boston College actually beating Fabrizio there to the end line and winning the ball back. Possession is going to become increasingly important as this game goes on.
Yep. And that's what I was alluding to, obviously, in the dead horse I'm beating is the face-off.
Right. And you said it in the beginning of the game, and I think it's very true that both face-offs and goaltending, but I think we're also going to see just hustle and some of the play in between the lines, ground balls and fighting for positioning there. Right there, Boston College winning the battle to the end line. I mean, that's those little plays are going to add up here towards the end of this game.
Talk about the same kid, Zach Jordan for BYU.
Wow, what a goal. What a goal from Boston College. Mark Flood, the freshman from Ridgewood, New Jersey, flipping that one is as he comes up above GLE, and Boston College takes the lead.
Great little play, walking in there, bought himself a little more angle with a couple more steps and just flipped it in. Now again, we talked about this to start the half. That goalie change, that's a tough call as a coach. That kid could not have played any better in the first half. You make the change, BC's starting to get to this kid.
Absolutely. You have a freshman attackman like that, score a goal like that to take the lead, and that's definitely a big momentum
he'll
builder.
be talking about that the rest of his life. Little plunger action here to win the faceoff, 42.
Nice
I'm telling you
check.
right now, what you were talking about, the hustling thing, Zach Jordan is one of the fastest and most competitive kids on that team. The other side of having him obviously be tired for faceoffs is you could just have him be a first-line midfielder. You're also tiring him out to play offense more.
And that's the tough thing about playing in the MCLA. A lot of times that happens.
Yeah,
you have
that's
a few
absolutely
guys
true.
that
Absolutely true. The last person who did that well was Will Patton for UC Santa Barbara. He was the best faceoff guy in the league, and he was the best midfielder in the league, but that's a rare combination.
Thomas Stack with the ball. Comes above GLE, looking to feed inside, moves it up top to Kalushtin. And Kalushtin down the right alley.
Great play by that LSM.
Nice play by the defender. And
big guy beats the little guy. Nice play.
And very aggressive defense there from BYU. That's Evan Klinger. And you see why the junior is another captain of theirs.
A lot of refs right there would just call that a penalty just because of the size differential. And a nice play there by the defenseman.
Stack coming from X again. Looking inside.
Attackman was for BYU was just 5 yards offsides for no reason.
And we're going to have a flag down. Christian Taylor comes over, and now BYU playing with a man advantage on defense.
Samir, it is early in the season, but so far we've seen the goalie throw the ball to a guy in the box. And we just saw an attackman when the ball was on his defensive side of the field just walk offsides. Very strange.
And
all right, Samir, let's get your prediction
Boston
here.
College right here. Prediction.
Last two.
Yeah.
They've jammed it inside in a goal. Do you go back to the well here?
Look, I think, to be honest, if BYU reacts to that, I think Van Fossen's going to have an opportunity at an outside rip.
Oh,
but I
good.
think what he's, if I was, when I'm looking at this situation, I think what's going to happen is they're going to keep a very close watch on John Lambrecht.
You got to.
And
now.
I think he's going to have to push inside and allow for Van Fossen and some of these other guys to take a big shot from outside. I think they're looking for a.
Look at you. See,
Kalushtin.
Samir, that's how we set each other up. You see that?
What a rip, and BC takes a 2-goal lead, the biggest lead of the game.
Samir, I'm going to go get an Arnold Palmer across the way. Just let you take control of everything here. You easily have this under control.
What
we
a
have
goal.
some about 4-hour-old boneless chicken wings over there for the fans, and some 0-calorie Arnold Palmer.
What a goal there from Kalushtin, and he shot from outside. And just like we talked about it, they were playing a little tight and allowing for that outside rip, and he took advantage of it.
The kid from BC, number 42, actually won that draw, but the wing player from you got to call timeout here. You got to call timeout. Oh, you can't. You're outside the box. Ooh, getting a little. That's high.
Getting very, very.
And that's a penalty. Oh,
rough out here. We'll see what the refs call, but coach is trying to calm down the situation.
Okay, Samir, let's talk about
to
bring this full circle. First thing we said to start the broadcast. BYU does not like being down or being even with someone late like this who they think they're clearly superior in. They will start to get chippy, and you just saw it. We saw a little bit of it a second ago, and we're starting to see it now.
You see Boston College, it's very important for them to keep their composure here. Possession time is going to be very important. I think we're going to get a moving pick there.
That's a tough call right there.
That's a tough call, and BYU back at it. Boston College with a very big opportunity up too, as BYU back on the break. BYU slows it down.
BYU's offside.
BYU offsides, and as you said, BYU not used to being down in a game like this.
No, and again,
Mark Flood feeds it inside, shoots and scores.
Great pass.
And Mark Flood, the freshman, what a look inside to Daniel Clemmer, the junior captain.
You got to call
Rhode
timeout
Island.
if you're blue there.
Absolutely, and BYU turnover there on another offsides.
Yep.
Brings it back down, and the freshman, Mark Flood, who's been very impressive in this second half, feeds it inside. And when your long pole, when your defensive captain scores a goal like that, I mean, your team is fired up. And
So
we're right
fired
next
up.
to the Boston College bench, and we can see it.
Nothing is going to upset you more as a coach when the kid's offsides by 6 inches. He's running down the line, and he just has 1 foot on the other side of the line. What are you doing? Now, again, I'm penalizing these kids from BYU for the sins of the people that came before them. But as I said, if I am stereotyping, these teams have been dominant for many, many years. But when they get down, they get chippy, they get frustrated. They're not used to being down. They're used to being one of the top dogs. And they for sure haven't been down to BC for a really long time, if ever.
BYU with a couple of close games this year. They had a tight one with UNLV. 1-goal game, 7-6 there. And another tight one with Simon Fraser. Both wins for BYU, but 1-goal games.
The tough thing with both those teams is UNLV, especially offensively, has been on the rise for a little bit. So that one surprised me. Simon Fraser is one of these teams where you can never get a read on them how they're going to be each year and the next. They're like dominant, then they fall off, and they're dominant again. So I chalk that one up to not being able to see the game, or maybe they're really good again. But maybe it says more about how inexperienced this BYU team is.
There's Zach Jordan. I wouldn't be surprised if he's able to bring this
play,
one
man.
himself.
This kid can play. I mean, this kid is single-handedly, him and his running mate are single-handedly trying to keep this BYU team in the game.
Zach Jordan, he's able to run by everybody on that Boston College defense. Takes a big hit, and there's 2 flags down here. Both refs throwing their flag. And I think this is the first time, correct me if I'm wrong, that we're going to see BYU's man-up unit today.
I think it might be the second, but needless to say, as big of a hit as Matt Quinlan from BC can deliver, he was more surprised than anybody that he got that penalty. But, yeah, Zach Jordan, once again, he wants it. He's going right down the center. He's daring you to stop him. But here we are in the middle of the third quarter. He's got his hands on his helmet. He is gassed, and he's got to still take face-offs for another quarter and a half.
And we'll see what BYU can do. Now they're down 3, and they got to claw back. Definitely a position that they're not used to, but they are used to tight games this year.
That is true. That is true. And that is, I was stereotyping them with being how they handle, being down. They have also, though, when it is close, if they can get back, that's going to favor them. These guys know how to play in close games.
And there's another goal there from Nick Stevens, able very quickly on the man up. Really within seconds of that man up, and BYU clawing back at this Boston College lead.
Nick Stevens could have shot that into a cup. He literally put that in as far in the corner as you could. Goalie had no chance. Okay, so the dead horse that the proverbial dead horse, we're continue to beat here. Now, Zach Jordan is not taking the face-off. So now this kid, I think it's his second face-off of the game, and he trips the
looks
BC
like that might have been a trip, not called by the official.
That's a new technique.
BYU.
You get left standing there, and you trip the kid on the way out and get the ball back.
And again, as we talked about, the officials letting them play today. As the sun is now down here, Nick Stevens pushing in tight. Moves it back down to X to Feldstad. And 2 minutes left in this third quarter. And with the sun down, it's actually a very nice night here out in Palm Desert. I'm sure some of these teams, especially Boston College, is excited to be out of Boston and in California.
I was there about a week and a half ago. I mean, they literally got 1.5 feet of snow. I mean, they got to be ecstatic to be out here.
See
right
a
now.
Feldstad, and he dives. Oh, what a play there from Clemmer, jumping over him. Athletic defensive captain there for Boston College. He moves it over to Shepard, and they're back on the clear.
Almost lost that one.
And a big pass there, not going to get through.
Oh, that's they've been clearing well all night. That's the first one they've turned over there. That's all right.
As BYU back on the clear as we come into the final minutes of this third quarter of play, one more quarter, and what a great way to start off this tournament.
Absolutely. You know, I was a little worried that this game was going to get out of hand. Again, not being to disparage the BC, but just not knowing enough about them. And boy, do they look good. As I said, they're always a good team. But in some years, they're better than others, and it looks like this is going to be one of those years when they are a very, very good team.
And Fabrizio, we haven't seen
talked
too
about
much
him
out
in
of
2
him
quarters.
since that
Yeah.
first goal.
Yep.
And he's got the ball on his stick. It looks like they're going to be looking to him to initiate as they
The last time we
switch on
talked
defense.
about, he made that defenseman fall down, then they moved it twice. They got that goal on the backside, but
And I think you got to look at a guy like Fabrizio to initiate your offense. Like you just talked about,
Right.
he can make the defense move. He doesn't have to dodge and score every time. But
Right.
if he can dodge 2 passes and they're going to have an open shot,
how good is he? How good is that kid at midfield?
Dixon.
They are so lucky that that is not a goal.
Absolutely. Dixon with a nice little move and a low-to-low worm burner. And Boston College with the timeout.
Great timeout call.
So what do you think, Mike, right now with 11 seconds left in the third quarter? What do you think Boston College draws up
Plenty
here?
of time. I would hope that any coach is going to have a one, if not 2, 10-second bags in the 10-second plays in the bag. Most of those 10-second plays actually come from the sideline. That's why I thought that was a great timeout call, because they're going to be coming in from the sideline. But I would like to see the ball very quickly either move to up top, taken down the side, then jam to the inside, or get it behind. Maybe try to get a big little or an invert set, and then, have some type of downward cuts from up top, and then jam it to those guys.
Absolutely. I think you're going to see them go to some of their go-to guys. We're going to see probably a pass from Van Fossen inside to John Lambrecht. Those guys have been having a great game, and it was interesting to see if Mark Flood is on the field, the freshman attackman who's been having a great second half.
You're right.
Looks like
And
he's
he is.
actually not going to be on the field.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought nope, you're right.
Not going to be on the field right now, but some of their big-time players. Also, Van Fossen not on the field right now.
You're right. That's an interesting play.
So it's interesting that the personnel that they have out there. I'm very curious to see. I think this must be an attack-driven play.
Yep, I think you're right. Now, what the BC coach is telling them is one shot. One shot, we either hit the goal or it goes to the fourth quarter. What they don't want is some bang-bang thing and BYU gets some.
They're shutting off John Lambrecht.
That's what I would do.
5 seconds, they jam it inside, not able to
Good
connect.
idea.
And that's the end of 3 quarters of action here in Palm Desert at the LAX Coaches versus Cancer event. And what a game it's been so far. 1 more quarter of action. You're watching live coverage right here on the Lacrosse Network.
Welcome to Total Lacrosse. I'm Anthony Kelly, Team STX member and member of the Ohio Machine. Here today to talk to you about the STX X10. The X10U is the next generation Excalibur and is compliant under NCAA and NFHS rules. This head is very popular among defensemen and long stick middies. The X10U comes with the signature STX trestle design, which provides extra strength and stiffness while keeping the head weight very light. There are also multiple stringing holes for easier stringing. To purchase your STX X10 and other great STX products, please visit TotalLacrosse.com. Thanks for watching.
And we're back here for fourth quarter action. You just saw a product review for the STX X10U head from Total Lacrosse. So make sure to head over to TotalLacrosse.com to check out more of their products, as well as tune in all weekend long. These broadcasts are all brought to you by Total Lacrosse, as well as all season long with the SLC Game of the Week. Our first SLC Game of the Week between Chapman and Boston College. And after looking at Boston College in this game, that is going to be a fantastic game.
Well, Chapman this year is supposed to get up and down the field a little bit and be a little more run and gun. They have some huge defensemen, though. I think their smallest defenseman 6'4".
Wow.
But they're going to look to push it this year. As we've seen, BC's looking to push it, so that could be a very fun game.
And Chapman actually taking on Colorado tomorrow night, so they have a tough one, tough matchup
Chapman's
as well.
had a hard time with them the last couple of years. Those games have been very, very close. Yeah, I'm curious to see how that one's going to be tomorrow, too.
Colorado coming in as the number 2 team in the nation right now, and Colorado State number 1. We're going to have them on Sunday against the Oregon Ducks.
Alex Smith, coach for Colorado State, one of the truly most genuine and greatest human beings in our league and just on the face of the earth. Could not be a nicer man, and could not be a better person and a better coach.
And that ball got away from BYU there. The pass was high. As Boston College trying to clear the ball, but Fabrizio picks up the ground ball. And he's looking inside, looking to feed.
This is where they've scored.
Christian Taylor with a shot. Nice save by Shepard.
Huge save in that moment. Now, can they clear it? Can they get something on their own here? BYU's had 2 goals on counterpunch situations. BC has not had any yet. You know, really, I kind of think that quarter, the third quarter, even though BC has the lead, I think it kind of went to BYU. They seem like they are being more of the aggressor here. BC needs to hold them off and put them away.
There's Thomas Stack back at X. We've seen a few different looks from Boston College at the attack unit, and that's definitely something that you don't see very often in the MCLA.
What a luxury.
Yeah, absolutely. What a luxury to have multiple attack units in the MCLA.
You know, that became an in vogue thing about 3 or 4 years ago to start, you know, instead of just playing 3 defensemen the whole game, rotate in multiple defensemen, you know, the thought being you have fresh legs, even though the kid might not be as good as the other 3 players, but perhaps they're, you know, same type of philosophy from the attack unit.
And Boston College, I think they're very aware that not only do they need to keep this lead, but they probably need to build on it. BYU, a very seasoned team.
Yep.
They're going to be able to claw back here, down 2 in the 4th. But if Boston College can maintain possession and continue to build, Van Fossen, it looked like he was getting ready to pull that one back and rip that one. And Fabrizio now on the break.
He's got angle here, and he's got a guy open. Wow, that's a really smart play by a very smart player. He pushed it, didn't have it, gave it a look, but settled down and tried to get one. You know.
I like this matchup right here with Zach Jordan. He's got speed against the shorty, rips one. Wow.
So what BYU's doing there is they're spreading everybody out. BC is being dumb enough to go with them and get spread all out over the field. And that's giving BYU all kinds of room to run into the middle of the field and get shots off.
And BC,
you know, really the same thing.
Swings it to Lambrecht, lefty, rips and scores. And Lambrecht has 4.
How much have we seen from the poles of BC contributing to pushing the ball, not being the ones to get the assist, but the hockey assist, so to speak, and then a goal for BC. Another great play by the defenseman.
And John Lambrecht, the senior attackman, with his 4th there, and we've seen him do it all. We've seen him score inside. We've seen him score with his shoulder down, low to high with a low angle, and right there, lefty from the outside. You can see why he's the top scorer on Boston College.
Okay, that face-off, he just killed him. Put the ball exactly where he wanted to, had no chance. This sophomore from BC, you know, I talked about him before the game started. He didn't do much, if anything, the first quarter and a half to 2 quarters. He's starting to take over now. Go ahead, 19.
So Boston College now with the 3-goal lead over BYU.
Oh, here we go, another goal. Okay, I thought we might have another situation with a pole initiating for BC, but they're going to slow it down.
There's Thomas Stack working from X. So he pushes above GLE.
Roll back.
Rolls back.
There's that jam again, but threw it offhand.
And
they keep the ball.
They do keep the ball. I think it's definitely an opportunity with a nice 3-goal lead here in the 4th for Boston College to eat some clock. You know, a little bit of possession time here, swing the ball around. As Lambrecht uses his body again, rolls back.
He's looking for that screenshot again. Nice play. Didn't get high enough upfield, so gave it back.
There's Balboni coming down the left side, working on Jordan.
Samir, what do you think about the lighting right now?
as the sun's going down and the lights are coming on. Right
Yeah.
now it seems to be a little dark on the field.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a little hard for the goalies right now. We're kind of in that transition where we're going from natural to artificial light.
I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. I recently watched the Johns Hopkins Towson game in the snow, and they opted to use an orange ball there.
Yeah, I think that gives the goalie a huge advantage. The reason you want to use a white stick with white webbing is because it disguises the ball until the background changes. But with an orange ball, you can see it the entire time it comes out.
Wow, Gustala, what a goal!
How many saves does this BYU goalie have in the second half? 2 maybe?
And right as you're saying that, you see a goalie change here for BYU, switching back to the senior goaltender, Rob Ostler. And Gustala finally buries one after a few missed opportunities in the first half. And what a goal that was, lefty.
It's tough for that kid, Brandenburg.
Brandenburg.
I'm curious if he's related to the other Brandenburg that came out of the Los Angeles area, who was also, his family's from Virginia. But anyhow, Rob Ostler is a senior. He's a captain of this team. He was possibly player of the game in the first half, or one of them in the conversation. You pull him out, and they haven't been the same team since. BYU got away with one there. They cheap shotted BC's goalie, didn't get the call.
And Boston College, their pole's doing a great job again, bringing the ball down.
Oh!
And a nice handle. Let's see if we see a flag there, and we
How
don't.
about that find?
And BYU back with the ball, but this is definitely an uncomfortable place for BYU. Down 4 in the fourth.
Yeah, and this is where, every team every year has a different makeup and different leaders. This is where BYU needs to find out who's going to be their leaders. When they get in a situation like this, who's going to say, calm down, I got it. If everyone's losing their head and no one steps up, you're going to have trouble.
And here Hayden Dixon with the ball, moves it over to Nick Stevens.
Unfortunately, one of those kids from BYU, I think, is Zach Jordan, and he's just too tired to go.
And Dixon back up with the ball. And this weekend, as Dixon...
He's going to his right.
Rolls back left with a rip, shoots high.
Nice play.
But, I was going to say this weekend is definitely a great way to start the MCLA season, but also is a little taste of tournament action for these teams.
When you were making the point about those, kind of attack by committee, maybe they're kind of doing that because they're playing so many games in so many days.
And Fabrizio with an uncharacteristic pass there goes into the dirt.
He's frustrated. He's had, it's hard to get into a rhythm as an attackman with the inconsistent touches he's been getting today, and he's getting frustrated. But that being said, he's also getting frustrated because of the defense that's being played on him.
Nice play there from BYU, and BYU getting a lot of opportunities at possession here, but just not able to connect on some of these passes. Hayden Dixon tries to chase that one down.
So, Samir, both these kids have been practicing or in the snow for the last couple of weeks. What are we, like 70? It's dropping a little bit, around 70 degrees. But my point is that it's also the beginning of the season. I think the lungs are starting to show itself here. We're getting some real sloppy passes, and the ball's just going back and forth, and no one's controlling anything.
And ball goes up in the air. We haven't had a settled possession in quite some time. Let's see how BYU reacts here. Although they need to settle down, they also need to act fast and have a sense of urgency. They're down 4.
This is not very good lacrosse by both teams. It's just back and forth in the middle of the field. No one's really controlling anything. As a coach, you would maybe think about calling timeout here.
And we got a hold, and that ball's going BYU's way as Hayden Dixon with the ball. And Dixon with a shorty matchup.
They're spread out again. He has an opportunity if he wanted it to go. There's no slide.
I think what we'd want to see here is Christian Taylor giving him some room and allowing him to operate to the middle of the field.
See what I'm talking about? This is just the same thing we saw in that one goal in the second quarter when they guarded Jordan 40 yards outside the goal. They're getting all spread out. BYU, if they wanted to, they could have pushed it right then. But here's the timeout I was saying that one of the coaches need.
Absolutely. I think the BYU coaches definitely want to take a timeout and talk this over. They have a tough battle ahead of them right now, down 4.
Yeah.
But again, BYU, a very seasoned team. They've been in this position before. They're used to tight games, and they have some serious playmakers in Zach Jordan and Hayden Dixon.
And their offense generally is how the offense goes is how the team goes. I'm not just saying that proverbially like any team. Some teams are more defensive-minded. BYU's always kind of gone the way of their offense. So the coach right now is telling them, look, there's no such thing as a 4-point play. What you do have in lacrosse is you get one at a time. However, going back to this constant theme, if they were down by 4 right now and could score, and you had Zach Jordan fresh to get you the ball back every time, you're essentially playing winners out.
Right.
Unfortunately now, if they get one, it's 50-50 at the face-off X. So point being, they got to get one before they can get 4, and so it starts right here.
We haven't seen too much out of the 3 top scorers here, Mike Fabrizio, Christian Taylor, and Aaron Feldstad. All 3 very great players and very good stick handlers. And we have seen Fabrizio operate from X and create some havoc with the defense. Just haven't seen them put the ball in the back of the net.
I've paid the compliment twice to BYU's assistant coach, and I just know him a little bit from, my coaching days. And, it is early. I don't know how much practice time they have, but they're usually a little more creative than this. This has been pretty vanilla. I'm surprised they don't, to your point, I'm surprised they kind of don't have a few more things that are lined up to take advantage specifically of those matchups you're mentioning.
Yeah, and I think, I think BYU would like to see Fabrizio initiate, cause some havoc, and get an outside rip. They have some great shooters. Flag down here. We are going to see a man up from BYU, a nice opportunity for them to cut this lead to 3.
This is one of those plays, that the game always comes down to 3 or 4 plays. This is one of them right here. If they hold them off, that's going to make that 4-goal differential potentially be really hard to overcome. If BYU gets one here, this is what they need to get back in the game. Bob the Blur Duggan signaling in the play. I hope to have as keen of eyesight or be able to walk when I'm that age. He is the number 68 on the back of his referee jersey. That is his age, not just his referee number.
And BYU here with a man-up opportunity, a big shot from outside, and that's blocked.
Oh, how about that kid stepping up to eat it? And that's a push from behind.
That's a push from behind as Bob Duggan calls that one.
That's a tough pass. He's gonna.
Oh, that was a shot. That was a shot. Nice play by Ostler.
8 eats the pass, gets the push from behind, decides why not? I'm going to go for the glory here. Can't hate him.
And an open net there, and BYU back with the ball, moving it over. There's Nick Stevens. Back up top. And
another tip pass by 8. Who is 8?
Doing a great job.
We should do this kid justice. He's a captain, for gosh sakes.
Chris
Noth, stepping up.
And another shot on Cage. Oh, and that one almost went in.
We got the backup here. BYU is starting to go to a little bit of a zone ride that's opening up some opportunities. Most people would not be comfortable taking those opportunities. BC seems to be run and gun at all areas of the field.
And the penalty is released. We're at even strength here as Boston College very wide. They're definitely looking to kill clock with just about 6 minutes left in this game.
That advantage we talked about, we're kind of that moment of the lighting has kind of changed now, so the goalies can clearly see the ball now as opposed to before. BC's starting to sense it, my friend. They are starting to sense it.
There's Van Fossen with the ball, and he's up against Hayden Dixon. This is a great matchup right here between 2 very strong midfielders. That ball...
It's a nice check by Hayden Dixon. Tied up his hands.
And that ball goes straight into the ground.
Hayden Dixon's been all everything for them tonight.
Absolutely. A very, very athletic midfielder.
This kid Jake Arbin has played quite a bit tonight. He seems like a little bit of a smaller... There you go, boom.
And Jake Arbin, right as you're talking about him, buries the rock, comes from just about midfield,
I was going to compare him to the kid he's running with Hayden Dixon. They have similar type games. He's a little bit shorter than him, but that was a nice move right there.
Absolutely, a great move. He comes in lefty down the alley, pushes in, switches to his right, and puts it far side. And BC now with a 3-goal lead.
Got to have this face-off if you're BC. Got to. I mean, if they can just win face-offs, they'll just win the game, even if they don't score again.
BC, they do win the face-off there, and that ball goes out of bounds.
He did not need to do that. He was nervous because he had the ball in the back of his stick, so he was trying to get rid of it. He could have just ran all the way down the field with the ball in the back of his stick.
And here's BYU, and they have some athletes
wow,
on that side of the field.
This kid fast.
Wow, and he puts the ball in the back of the net.
Okay, how is he not playing offense? CJ Raya?
CJ Raya comes down the field.
The
and
freshman with blazing speed.
Unbelievable
Put
speed
him
there.
In the game.
With
5 minutes.
I'm
telling you, that face-off was so key. As I said, all they got to do is win the face-off. They don't even have the score. They just got to win the face-off. And by the time it takes for BYU to get the ball back. However, that being said, the freshman decides I've had enough of this. Blazing speed.
And BYU, such impressive athletes. And we talked about this is a seasoned team. They're not going to roll over.
Nope.
With 5 minutes left in this game.
They've won plenty of games in this exact situation. They've been losing this game almost the entire time. They make the goalie change. They win the last 5 minutes. They win the game. This is not a good situation. Somebody from BC has got to stop the bleeding right now.
Absolutely. And Boston College, this is definitely something new for them. A very talented young team. But, BYU's been here, and BYU does not want to lose this game. Both undefeated squads, and this is definitely going to play into their ranking going into the national tournament.
That kid that just scored that goal, that is rare speed at this level. I'm telling you. He's a freshman. I'm assuming he'll go on his mission the next 2 years. When he comes back after that kid is going to be unbelievable.
That was serious speed, and we see it out of some of the guys. Zach Jordan with some great speed, but playing all game.
Yeah.
CJ Raya comes in fresh.
Wow.
And with some seriously unbelievable speed.
I was kind of capping in the second quarter a little bit on the second line for BYU, not doing too much. Somebody like that, geez, get him on the field.
Absolutely, and we'll have to see. And Zach Jordan there.
Now what's happened here is the BC faceoff guy is going to the plunger, and then he's bringing it to his face underneath. No one's had a counter for that yet.
That's McKiernan who just lobs it up in the air, and Van Fossen able to handle it. A nice play by him.
Now relax here, relax. This is where you get that tough thing. Do I push it to try to score as they've been doing all game? If I sit back and kind of go into a prevent, that's not their style,
And BYU back with the ball, and we're seeing right now Boston College definitely looking a little jittery here as the game clock ticks down. They need to control the ball and stay poised as BYU needs to get this ball over the midline.
Actually, I'm not positive, but didn't he cross over the midline? There should have been a 10-second count right there.
And that defenseman for BYU just lobs that one in the air, and that goes out of bounds past Feldstedt.
I think he thought the same thing I did.
As Mike Shepard now passes that one up and finds Will Forsyth.
Hey, just relax, gentlemen. Relax. Both teams just need to relax. BYU has been clearly the aggressor, and as we talked about, they're used to this situation, and they know they can fight back. Any team at BC's level, you got to learn how to win. They're learning the hard way right now.
BYU looking for Christian Taylor, not able to connect on that pass as Van Fossen picks it up, and there's another turnover.
That's the first bad play we've had from a Bountiful product all night.
And Jake Arbin not happy with the slow restart here as he brings the ball back in. Jake Arbin's got the shorty matchup, and it looks like he's going to his right. Slows it down.
The blur Duggan official is giving it to the BYU coaches. A little bit of a disagreement.
Looks like they're going to. Under 2 minutes left in the game here. BYU with the ball. Down 2.
3 minutes. 3 minutes.
Sorry, 3 minutes in the game. Aaron Feldstad, and you're right.
Oh!
Mike Shepard is guessing low.
Yeah.
I mean that's
Yeah.
he's not doing too much guessing there because that's a jump shot. He's pulling it high to low, but Shepard is very quick to go low. I think if Feldstad had gone high to high there, that ball would have gone in the back of the net.
You and I were talking about that early on in this game, and we said it'll be interesting to see if BYU picks up on it. They haven't picked up on it all game. And, you know, as a player, as a coach, whatever, you're going to keep doing what's working until someone proves they can beat it. He is picking up on something which is causing him to drop to his knees, and he's eating all those up.
You know what I like to see here? There, Luke Phillips, who just passed the ball, freshman for BC. We're seeing a lot of young players on both sides of the ball.
That's a really good point. Yeah, a lot more for BC than I was anticipating. Also, BC, as you made reference, I don't know if this is their strategy or if it's because they're playing so many games in so many days, but they are really getting down. I mean, they're using their whole team.
Two minis up top here. Chapman with the ball, who's going to move it up to who's that? Luke Phillips, both freshmen.
Well, the thing about it, Samir, is you don't even have to know their names. Anytime you see numbers in the 46, the 49s, those high areas, those kids are the freshmen on.
And we got a flag down here with 2 minutes left in the game. As they feed across to Chapman, and Chapman, the freshman, not able to handle it.
Here we go.
And he's got space. He's coming inside. Ooh, and didn't want to take the shot there.
How about the poise from the freshman to hold the ball right there?
Absolutely.
Who's his high school coach? We got to talk to him. Great job coaching.
He's from Minnesota.
That can't be true. He moved
Minnesota.
there late in his life or something. No one from Minnesota is making that smart of a play.
And Van Fossen now with the ball at X, and they're definitely a very poised and very well-coached team here is BC. Lambrecht inside shoots. Looking for his fifth.
The freshman from Minnesota has the clear alley, says, I don't need to be the hero.
Absolutely. What a play there from Chapman. As the man-up unit takes the field with 1 minute and 20 seconds left in this game, Boston College with the lead.
I'm telling you, this is a place where BYU has thrived in the past. I know from coaching against them, they have several sets in this situation to put you in a double team, even though you're man up with the ball behind. BC has to keep the ball above GLE, because if they try to put it in one of the corners to get it behind, BYU is going to go to immediate double team.
Do you think that BYU is going to come out with a double team from the get-go?
No, what I think they're going to try to do is, like I said, I don't think so. They could. They very well could. But I know they've got a couple of things in their back pocket where they're going to try to make it seem like the guys behind are wide open. They want to get it back there because then the back of the goal becomes their extra defender. So they could, but I would anticipate they're going to try to bait them behind and then initiate the trap.
And Boston College, you can imagine how their seniors are feeling right now. This is a very
good point. It's a very good point.
A very big moment for them if they're able to pull off this victory. A big moment for this program.
Yeah,
it's been an up and coming program. You know, they exited the MCLA National Tournament in a first-round loss to Sonoma State, but it looks like they're definitely back and they mean business this year.
And the coach, too, like I said, your third year, this is when you've made your imprint on the team. Your systems are known. You've gotten a few of your recruiting classes in. This is when you're supposed to really put your stamp on the team as a coach. And so if this is the type of team they're going to be, they definitely could be back the way they were to a few years ago.
And Boston College, after tonight, they have the day off tomorrow. They get to come out and watch Chapman play and then take them on Saturday. So Chapman playing 2 days in a row, Boston College with a break.
You know, I don't mean the game's not over here. I don't mean to by any means not give all credit to BC. So you just made a point about the travel. I'm not positive about this, but I think BYU drove through the night and got here sometime today. That could be kind of something on purpose.
Kalustin inside, shoots and scores. And that might be the nail in the coffin there.
That could be BYU kind of manufacturing a challenge, but they gambled and lost heavily tonight because they needed a good night's rest for these guys because they have been all over them from the get-go.
And let's see what the call is here.
Delay a game. Kid got a little bit upset after the goal, kind of threw it to the side. This could be no face-off. That's a tough call for a ref to make right there. Usually they'll kind of let the emotion play out. It must have been pretty egregious.
And the goal is good. And
oh, Kyle Morrison hasn't gotten any face time tonight. The only reason that horn still exists in lacrosse is to signal to the referees that there's a problem. Oh, all right. Well, Kyle just got engaged, everyone. Soon to be married. Wonderful woman. Can't believe it. Very, very happy for him.
And looks like BYU is going to try and get the ball back early.
Here's
And
a secret.
BYU again
1, 2,
offsides.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, that's just a delayed substitution.
And Boston College is going to hold this ball, and I think they're going to have no problem taking the W tonight. And what a game by them as Van Fossen. What a goal. I thought the Kalushin goal was a nail in the coffin, but that one from Van Fossen was.
What a G to even let that one go. What a jerk to even do that. I mean that in a good way. Oh,
Van Fossen.
that's how you let them know not today. I mean, how? Oh, my gosh. Leave no doubt how much you dominated.
Wow. Van Fossen, the senior midfielder.
Van Fossen. Everyone else, get the F out of here. I'm done.
And Boston College is definitely going to walk away victorious tonight as we're in the final seconds here. BYU still playing hard.
I mean, get Van Fossen back on the field.
Absolutely.
Jeez.
As we have 20 seconds left in this ball game, and
Van Fossen doing his best Chuck Norris impression.
as Boston College now clearing the ball, under 20 seconds left in this game.
Oh, Van Fossen's back on the field.
Back in the stick of Mike Shepard. And 10 seconds left in this game, and Boston College, again, showing some of that amazing clearing ability. We're going to see them again on Saturday, and Boston College comes away with the victory over the BYU Cougars.
Very entertaining game. There were a couple of things we highlighted early. Didn't think that they were going to come to fruition, but they kind of actually came through. You just touched on one of the last ones. BC's ability to ping the ball back and forth on the clear. That's something BYU really tries to get you in, and they were able to expose that tonight. Then obviously the goalie play, and then as we transitioned through the game, the way they started to win faceoffs.
Absolutely, and Boston College traveling over to the West Coast and definitely making their presence known early in the first game of this tournament. BYU at it again tomorrow night. You can catch them live right here on the Lacrosse Network. BYU taking on Oregon. First time we're going to see the Oregon Ducks this season on TLN. And Chapman taking on Colorado tomorrow evening as well. Both games will be live on the Lacrosse Network.
Let's see how BYU bounces back from this, and let's see how BC handles a little taste of success, and now you get to go against Chapman.
Absolutely. BC now still undefeated on the season. BYU just handed their first loss, and we'll see again how that plays out the rest of the weekend. Great MCLA action the rest of the weekend. Mike, what are your final thoughts on this game?
Kind of to wrap up both things, BC seems to be, again, one of those years where this is one game, it's an isolated setting, but just from the style of play and the number of shots, they seem like they're going to be a tough out for anybody. And then again, to bring this full circle, I touched on how, this is Coach Matt's now. This is his team. None of Jason Lamb's players are left. These are all his recruits, all his players. What image, what type of team are they going to be? And we're going to find that out this next game. Absolutely.
And Boston College coming out and very impressive play, especially from the young players. Mark Flood, the freshman, with a nice flip goal, and that felt like it was a turning point.
It's really good.
And they never looked back.
You're really right. That play, the goalie change from BYU, I think if you're retrospect looking at something, what is the one X and O thing that you could have changed? That turned. It was a close game already. BYU, BC absolutely could have still won this game, but as soon as they made that goalie change, it was all over.
Absolutely, and some of the older players on Boston College also making their presence known. Van Fossen, one of them.
Van Fossen with a statement goal of the young season.
Absolutely.
Obviously, our boy John Lambrecht was, in the second half, he really started to get those passes on the inside, catch and finish them. But in the losing effort, Zach Jordan and then our man Hayden Dixon, boy, were they great. And this is a very early plea again. Get C.J. Rea on the field. That kid is a talent.
Absolutely. Great athletic ability. Great play out of both teams. And I have to say thank you one more time to our sponsors, Total Lacrosse, for bringing you guys the broadcast. And they'll be bringing the broadcast all weekend long and all season long. Huge thanks to Matt Holman and the EMW Foundation for putting on the tournament. And a big thank you to
Samir,
Mike
please.
DeWan.
Thank you for carrying me
Thank
tonight.
you
I was
so
stepping
much.
all over you. God, amateur night.
No problem. We're very thankful to have Mike DeWan on the broadcast. And tomorrow night you guys can tune in 4 p.m. Pacific time to watch Chapman take on Colorado. Tomorrow night you'll have Chris Marshall and Colin Rosenblum on the color commentary.
The B Squad compared to us, the B Squad.
So thank you very much. Thanks for watching the Lacrosse Network. Make sure to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. For Mike DeWan, I'm Samir Chaudhry. Have a good night.